Good morning, okay. 7:34. Nothing like a wonderful opportunity to travel the world.
That's right.
To see things, to possibly live somewhere else if you wanted to. But not everywhere in the world can you just go freely. You've got to be, have some right to be there, whether that be a visa or a passport
Right.
or be a citizen and all these kind of intricate things. And there's people out here that can help you. There's an organization, Your Italian Passport. Lauren Hopkins, she is the founder of Your Italian Passport. She joins us this morning. Lauren, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Can I ask you, are you a dual citizen of both the United States and Italy? Am I allowed to ask you that?
Yes, you're allowed to ask, and the answer is yes, I am. That's
Wow.
sort of the origin of Your Italian Passport, was going through that process myself.
So Your Italian Passport, you are a licensed U.S. attorney, and you help those obtain their dual citizenship with both the U.S. and Italy. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
All correct, Justin. Yes, that's exactly it. I'm an attorney here in the U.S. I'm located in the Lake Norman area, but I help Italian Americans get a second citizenship with Italy.
Okay, so what was the process like for you when you tried to get your dual citizenship with Italy? What was that like?
Opaque and dark and with no answers to any questions. And so I said, this does not have to be this way. There's got to be a way to help people and shed some light on this whole process. The Italian government, to their, understandably, they're not exactly in the business of helping people in this process. So information that they make available online can be limited or confusing. And so, having navigated those waters alone, I realized, I think there's an opportunity here to help other people.
So, I was checking out your website, YourItalianPassport.com, and you walk through kind of these eligibility requirements on your website in as much layman terms as you possibly can. So walk us through, because it seems like the rules are pretty interesting in Italy. It's not necessarily that you had to be born there, but you can have some family that was from there. Can you walk through the process with us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. And that process itself has changed so much in the last year. So I'll kind of give you what was the standard for the last 30 years and then what has happened in the last 12 months, because Italy, kind of like the whole globe, it seems, is kind of having its own nationalist moment, and that has definitely impacted this process. So in general, those of Italian descent, Americans in this country and elsewhere, this isn't limited to just Americans, but people with ancestry from Italy, if it's an unbroken chain of eligibility, which I'll explain that in just a second, can apply for recognition of citizenship by descent, meaning that an ancestor came, they passed citizenship to the next in line that was born. For instance, in my case, that was 4 great-grandparents, who then passed it to my grandparents down through my mother. You're probably wondering, this last name Hopkins, how is she related to Italy at all? That's on my mother's side. And so if you have an ancestor who historically it had been, never became an American citizen or did so after the birth of their child, the relevant child in your branch of your family tree, then they were a viable source of citizenship for you. And under Italian law, we had all been carrying latent Italian citizenship that just needed to be formally recognized by the Italian government. I'll pause there for questions, and then we'll talk about what's changed, if you want, in the last 12 months, because it's a lot.
Well, as far as the Italian citizenship, there are some countries where you can't buy property without being a citizen. Is Italy one of those countries?
No. So in Italy, cash is king. You don't have to be a citizen to buy a property in Italy if you're buying for cash. And there are a lot of fantastic options in Italy, not just €1 homes that we see advertised to us constantly, but some really wonderful things that if you're interested in buying for cash, not a problem. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to be of Italian descent. If you want to finance something, if what you have in mind is a gorgeous Tuscan villa and you think, well, I wasn't really trying to cash strap myself over this, I would like to finance this. In general, American banks won't lend to you because the property is outside of their reach, should you default on it or something like that. And Italian banks will say, well, you personally are outside of our reach if you're not a citizen. So Italian banks won't lend to you as a non-citizen without involving, at a pretty penny, a third-party European, typically, to get involved, to be the what holds you to the property and what holds you to the country. So in short, financing is often contingent upon citizenship. But no, cash is king in Italy. So buy away if what you have in mind is within your cash budget.
But you said some things seem like they're changing now in the past 12 months. This kind of nationalization vibe that's kind of sweeping the world right now. So what are those things that you're seeing and probably monitoring, because it's not happening instantly? So what are those things that you're kind of paying attention to as well as these kind of changes are coming about?
Yeah, no doubt about it. So in the last 12 months, we have seen the rules, as I kind of outlined them very briefly, change dramatically. So the rule is currently only children and grandchildren of Italy-born people are eligible, which would make someone like myself currently ineligible. Furthermore, the ancestor must definitely never have become, with a few exceptions, a foreign national, meaning in our example, an American citizen. That was a law that was enacted by the Italian Parliament in May of 2025. So very recent. This is only about 120 days old, something like that. It's being chipped away at by the high courts in Italy. And for instance, the generational restriction is expected to go away in early 2026. And all of those great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren will be brought back into the fold early in the new year. The naturalization issue is a little bit more uncertain because it's in a different court that's not, though it's called the Italian Supreme Court, it's not really that supreme. And so decisions that it issues are just advisory. I know this is sounding like a lot of legal jargon for 7:30 in the morning, but long story short, yes, eligibility has shrunk because Italy was getting over 300,000 applications a year and was saying, we don't know that we can maintain all of this. And what does this look like for the fabric of Italy moving forward? And again, like I said, everywhere, the whole planet seems to be having kind of a nationalist moment. And part of Italy's version of that was to say, maybe we need to curtail citizenship eligibility for everybody in the globe.
So the process, because for those maybe that are in the middle of it, you've done it probably quite a few times, if I had to guess. So what is that process and kind of that timetable? Because if they're changing the rules right now and I'm considering it, I imagine, again, it doesn't happen overnight. So can you brief us on kind of what that process is like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So historically, and still true today, there are really two paths to citizenship. There is submitting an application to the consulates here or the embassy here. So there's the embassy in Washington, D.C., and there are 9 consulates across the country that can handle citizenship applications. For us here in the Charlotte area, our consulate is Philadelphia, if you can believe that. So you would physically, if eligible to submit there, take an application in person and submit to an Italian government official who will review it, process it, and then ultimately issue you a notice that you're an officially recognized Italian citizen. That applied to, I would estimate, about 80% of applicants before the last 12 months have gone on and the changes that have gone on in those last 12 months. The alternative path has been to go to Italian court, which historically, for a number of reasons that I won't bore everybody with today, accepts more applications than the consulates do. Legally, they can do that because they don't always follow the same set of rules. Now, with all of these changes, it's the 80-20 has kind of flipped, and only about, I would say, as many as 80% of applications are now going to Italian court. You do have to hire an Italian attorney to file that petition on your behalf or on behalf of your family. I do have a legal partner in Rome that does that. So, we have been doing that for over 10 years for that, what was at one point 20% of applications and is now as much as 80% of applications. Timeline, best to always think it's going to be about 3 years till citizenship, from the day on which you start until the day in which you're holding a passport. Sometimes it's even longer than that.
All right, your top favorite things about Italy. Go.
Oh, wow. Okay, food. I mean, I guess that's kind of a given. It's, you just kind of eat your way through the country. It's just beautiful. I mean, having traveled from the northeasternmost corner and northwesternmost corner down through Sicily, I mean, it's all different. The landscape is not the same in any two places, but it's equally fantastic. And I think, it's a little bit cliche, just kind of that la dolce vita element to it of they just move at a slower pace and it's kind of fantastic. It can be frustrating sometimes, especially if you're doing something like this where you're wanting attorneys and courts and things like that to move at a reasonably expected pace. But then if you just step back and sort of say, if I can't beat them, I'll just join them. and just embrace a slower pace and get less done, you realize, I think they're onto something here. What are we doing working so much and for so long and so many hours? So something to it.
We're talking with Lauren Hopkins. She's the founder of Your Italian Passport. If you've got family, might be, you've got eligibility for citizenship there in Italy. Thanks, Lauren, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.